Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today is another episode of Wealthy Wednesday. We're going to keep this at 10 minutes, Lord willing. All right. In business, it pays to listen to other people's failures. So today, I have a cautionary tale that I put together from real situation that I was a party to in my younger years that can help y'all prevent catastrophe. And I'm going to try to put it in a creative way, and at the end of the video I'm going to sum it up. So here we go. There once was a king. His name was Thomas. King Thomas was a warrior king. This kingdom wasn't really huge, but what he had, he protected with a ferocity that could not be matched. His people loved him. He kept them protected from all the evils of the world. He would be out there fighting the border skirmishes and fighting alongside his allies to keep their cities safe as well as his. He would be out there enforcing the laws and bringing the bandits and the evildoers to justice. I mean, he was a working king. He worked from daylight to dark. He traveled all over. Everybody knew him by sight. He was not a king that stayed in his castle behind his walls. He had a sword in his hand and a shield on his side, and he traveled and he protected and he spoke to his people, and he was a very, very working king. He never gave up. Even when the battle looked like it was going to turn against him, he stayed in the fight. He was always researching the best equipment. He tried to purchase the best equipment for him and his men. He was on top of his game in that area. But now, King Thomas did have a Achilles heel. He was not educated in the mathematics and in the more finer things in education, like English skills and writing skills, but he was focused on his military prowess. He was a proud military leader. He was achieved. He fought battles that some people said that he never should have won. But while he was doing that, he lost sight of something very important. His Queen Victoria, was back at the estate. She was running everything, and he trusted her fully. He did not question anything that she did. He assumed that she was working for his and his country's good just as much as he was. And that was his folly. He did not stay involved enough in the day-to-day running of his kingdom and allowed a foreign dignitary to influence his queen. This foreign dignitary, let's call his name Stephen. Stephen was from a kingdom not far from Thomas's, and he was able to come into the king's court while the king was out fighting battles and leading his troops, and he was able to influence Victoria into doing things that would weaken Thomas's kingdom. For instance, there were gold supplies that were being shipped and never achieving their destination. There were many opportunities for the kingdom to grow and to be stronger through purchases and alliances that Stephen was in cahoots with Victoria, and did not allow those things to take place, did not allow Thomas to even find out about them, until one day a dignitary from a rival kingdom came to Thomas's kingdom and discussed with him about some of the things that were happening and why that they haven't tried to finalize an alliance. And they were willing to pay royalties to him to join this alliance. They were willing to pay him duty, for being their friend. And he was angry when he found out that this did not take place. So he went back to his throne room And before he got there, word had spread. And Victoria had opened the gates and allowed Stephen and his troops to come in and take over Thomas's kingdom. Within hours of him finding out what was happening, his kingdom was taken from him, because he did not have the troops that it would have took to retake that kingdom, to retake that castle that he had lived in for so long. They did not have any children. That was a godsend, so he didn't have to worry about them killing off his children. And he figured that they would take care of his people, but he, in essence, lost his kingdom. Him and his men were exiled from their own lands just because they did not keep their finger on the pulse of their nation. They were too busy fighting bandits and winning border skirmishes and helping allies keep their property, and they lost their own because they were fooled. They were duped from within. They lost everything that they had worked so hard for. The people of the nation mourned, but there was nothing that they could do. The military power that Stephen brought to bear was just too great. So Thomas and company had to leave their own country and to go and serve in these other countries that they had been previously allied with. But Thomas was never a quitter. That was not his nature. Him and his men worked hard, fought well with other kings, and they built themselves back up. They never took back their lands, but they were able to gain more land and have a better peaceful life because they found a better mate for Thomas. She was no longer going to be a queen because he lost his kingdom, but he found a better wife. He found a wife that already had children, and that was what the queen before never could give him, was children. So he was happier. He had a bunch of little youngins running around. He had lands and little farms, and his men were taken care of under this new king that they were serving, and they found peace in life. They never gave up. They kept on fighting. And that is the moral of the story in actuality to me, is no matter what, you keep fighting. No matter what comes your way, what takes away what you have, you keep fighting and you never stop. Because when you stop, you die. That's just my opinion. And I will keep getting up and I will keep fighting. And that's what I want every one of y'all to take to heart. Especially in these dark days that we have around our country with all this information and misinformation and people talking about all kinds of crazy stuff, you know. Don't let them hold you down. Focus on you and your family. Build yourselves up for the prosperity that God really intends for you. Now, we're going to sum this up with a real life story. What actually happened is I had a friend named Tommy. Tommy was a big part of my life when I was coming up. Me and him would exchange name calling and stuff at work, and he believed that I worked harder when I was mad, and we had a good time. He could not read and write very well, but he did not let that slow him down. He was a deputy with the sheriff's department. He was a volunteer fireman, plus he worked 40-50 hours with us every week at our store. And he would hustle. I mean, he had forearms like Popeye, but what actually happened is he lost his home and his mama's home because he had refinanced it. His wife had talked him into refinancing once upon a time, and she found a man on the internet and he wooed her away, but they conspired together for 3 months and did not pay house notes, did not pay car notes. They kept putting that money in their pocket for the day that she would leave. Tommy was left without anything to pay any bills. They repossessed everything he had. This woman had it planned so well. We helped where we could, but at the time I wasn't in no position to do anything for him. But yeah, and he did, after that, pick himself up, found him a new woman that already had children, was way happier for the rest of his days, and that means a lot to us. But keep fighting. God bless. Make sure you keep track of your finances at all times. God bless. Catch you on the next ride.